then we'll vote each one of them, or we'll vote them separately. So one's a change and one's a balance of payment, so Michelle?
So I did include a memo that outlines the action that you guys need to take this evening. So item A under old business includes change orders for the West Moyer and Evans Road Drainage Improvement Project. And, those total change orders, I need you to approve $8,436, and then an additional amount for the third change order in the amount of $4,024.40. So your total amount that you'll be approving for the change orders is $12,460.40.
Okay, so I'm gonna need a motion for, item A on the change order.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Your second, further discussion? All in favor say aye. Against?
Discussion, I'm sorry,
Yep.
just a clarification, cause I got a great email from you, but I thought it'd be included in here. Part of that is the Brock Fleck?
No,
Okay,
That
it is
is
not, okay.
that is not, that's a separate item on the agenda, and actually, we probably will be tabling that.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay,
Nope, nope.
Very
we're
good. thank you.
Okay, so I think I got a unanimous on that.
Yes, sorry about that, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, and I just wanna also note that the total change orders for this project were $25,593.18, which will be coming from the stormwater maintenance budget in the general fund, as we used ARPA funds for this project, but the balance of the ARPA funds had to be obligated by December 31st, 2024, and they were allocated for other projects. So those change orders will come from that line item in the general fund budget, and there is $50,000, I believe, in there.
Old business B, this is the actual balance of payment.
Yeah.
I need a motion on that.
So you're gonna be, I'm sorry, so you're gonna be actually approving, so at last month's meeting, you approved a change order in the amount of $74,350, I think it was. I have 240 here, but I think that's a typo. So you're approving the balance of pay application number 2, and also approving pay application number 3. So you have the additional one for 2 is $53,276.34, and for number 3, it's $70,555.13.
You request a motion still on the table, I'll need that motion.
I'll make the motion to pay, number 2 and 3.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
In a second. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Number C, that's what you just brought up, Don. So Michelle was gonna track this down and get the full invoice on this. It's in your packet, we're gonna table it. We didn't get that invoice because we wanted to do a little more research on it. Michelle, anything to add?
Yeah, just add that, so originally, we had an agreement with a neighboring property owner who owns a construction company to take some of the dirt from the project. He did that, he sent an invoice in for that, which would be a change order to the project. And he did save us significant amount of money, as you can see in Kevin's email. But we had asked him to give us an itemized invoice, he did not. I reminded him again today, he said he was gonna send it this evening before the meeting, and I still haven't received it. So, I mean, we did save a lot of money by utilizing his services, but, we did request that itemized invoice, so I think it's appropriate to table that.
Thanks, Michelle. Old business D and E, in your packet, you have both stapled together, the extension for 90 days for both those projects you see on there. The State Street Minor subdivision and State Street Land Development, we'll vote each one of those separately. Taking D, Michelle, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add, they're pretty self-explanatory, so we request the developer give us an extension, on the plans, and when they provide them, then we ask the board to approve them, and that's a normal course of business.
Okay, so I'll need a motion on the first one, item D.
I'll make that motion.
Your motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Here in a second, further discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Against? Extension granted. Old business E, I'll need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Here in a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Here in a second, is there further discussion? All in favor of the extension say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carries. In your packet also, you'll find the standard for the escrow release for Hunt Development, it's all in there, for $269,777.48. I'll need a motion on that.
I'll make the motion for $269,778.48, for the escrow release for Pottsville Hunt Development.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Here in a second. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Old business G, this is a trail study, request coming in, this is in conjunction with a grant. Michelle, Greg?
I'll talk then. So, this is just a study on a way to connect our trails. You're only authorizing the study itself. Originally, the township did apply for a Schuylkill Highlands grant for the total cost of the trail connection study, but we were denied and we were told to seek other grants. So we did seek a Pottstown Area Health and Wellness Foundation grant, which we did receive in the amount of $15,000. In addition to that, we got a $10,000 grant from the William Yuck Foundation. So the total grant received was $25,000. The total proposal is
35.
Yeah, $35,000, so the $10,000 in difference would come from the open space fund, for the trail connection study, so we're asking for approval to proceed with that.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there a second, further discussion?
What does the, I know it's in the title, but what does the trail connection study actually give us? I mean,
It gives us options to connect our trails, and once we receive that, then we can pursue, the avenues to make those connections actually happen.
is that engineering, or is that just a,
It's actually ground where you you go through and try to fix how you're gonna actually connect it, what properties you need to do that.
Right.
Because we got bits and pieces of really long, nice ones,
hmm,
and then connecting a circular pattern, we wanna do that. A lot of our issues has to do with crossings.
good, well, open space here, I'm assuming you're good with this?
It's all right, yeah.
Okay.
All right, I think I got all the motions and everything, so,
Got a third one?
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Eric was supposed to come in on this, and I know there's some discussion about this already. We're on, old business H, that's the Yarnall Road one. What I was taking a look at, and I think we actually heard admission from one of the folks that got up and spoke, I got it, have a seat. We just stood up and gave the planning commission some information, some practice. They're getting ready to go, so this may be an opportunity to us to refer as well. So if you guys wanna go ahead and, speak a little bit, see if any commissioners have any questions, and then we can, continue to talk.
I'm sorry, Mr. Slickard, I did not catch the first part about the planning commission.
Yes, we have a planning commission now, they've been trained up,
Okay,
and there may be an opportunity to refer this to them.
okay. Mr. Frey, I talked to him today, didn't mention anything about that. I thought he was also gonna be here today along with the engineer.
You said who was gonna be here?
Mr. Frey, I asked if
Yeah,
he wanted
he's-
a copy of the materials for me to bring for him tonight, and he said yes, bring
He
one.
was supposed to be
Okay.
here, I think he's got a meeting right now.
Gotcha.
And he's trying to get here, Emerson, you know, okay, so if you guys wanna press, say anything here more, add anything to what you added already, and if the commissioners have any comments, so.
My understanding was that the prior meeting, I was not at the prior meeting, didn't really get particularly far, actually. I think the status is that there are 5 waivers requested, one of which respectfully was necessary because of a, position that this body took when we went for, zoning hearing board approval last year, which we thought was a good recommendation. We implemented it, but that does require a waiver request that our engineer, Mr. Mack, can go into. But we had a Teams meeting on March 25th with Mr. Frey and Mark from LTL. As I'm sure this body is well aware, Mark from LTL, the township's engineer, recommended approval of all 5 waiver requests. These are strictly engineering comments. The Montgomery County Planning Commission approved the plan in terms of conformance with all county requirements for stormwater approval. And Mr. Mack can go into why each of these waivers would not have any impact on neighboring properties. That was certainly LTL, the township's engineer's conclusion as well. Hence him recommending approval of all 5 waiver requests. And just to be clear, in some cases, the waiver requests and the actual planned implementation of the stormwater management system will actually improve what I understand is a situation that I think there's already been some issues with, not by anything that the applicant, Mr. Cuscione, has done, because there really hasn't been any construction on the property. Yeah, this is not a hearing about a use or what's permitted on the property. This is just, as LTL and Mr. Frey both agreed on the Teams meeting, just waivers that are necessary to implement the plan for the property that the zoning hearing board did approve. And Mr. Mack can go through those waiver requests just so that we can better understand that. I appreciate that certain members of the nearby community are here and have questions. I would respectfully point out that I do recognize some of them from the zoning hearing board, and it doesn't seem to be so much as questions so much as straight opposition to the plan from what I recall. That said, we certainly want to make sure that we are not impacting any properties, and that was the township's engineer's conclusion as well, hence him recommending all 5 waiver requests. I can have Mr. Mack briefly go through them just so there's a better public understanding of what's being requested here, because I want to stress, and Mr. Mack will be able to say, that this is not a situation where the applicant is trying to evade important stormwater controls. If anything, it is simply well, Mr. Mack will be able to better state, but for this particular project, the way that it was implemented, again, in response to some township requests for amendment to the plan, just waiver requests that are needed, and this is a typical part of this sort of approval. With your indulgence, Mr. Slicker, I'll just have Mr. Mack briefly go through those so the public might have a better understanding.
So all the commissioners, you have this in front of you.
By the way, I do have packets of the LTL review letter, Mr. Mack's response. I'd be happy to pass out along with the most updated plans that Mr. Mack provided to the township last week.
Okay, so I think what we'll do is go ahead and go through each one of those items that you discussed. Maybe you can read through that and ask questions as also, and then we'll take it from there. Is that all right?
Certainly. Would you like me to pass out the packets of the LTL review letter?
If you have those there, how many do you have?
I have, Mr. Frey requested that I bring 8 copies just in case. And I'm happy to pass out.
Hand out the roll plan.
I already have it. I have.
It's the same thing, I just colored it up so they can see the base and the bar of the house. That's fine, you can have it.
Yes, you did.
Sorry, I can't see your name, right? Oh, sir. Did I miss anyone?
I'll take it.
There you go, sir. There are, just a quick note, the plan is up front. There are 2 December 27th letters from LTL. The one that begins with "Dear Board Members," addressed of course to yourselves, is the one that deals with the 5 requested waiver, from the stormwater ordinance. Mr. Mack, would you like to just briefly walk through them so the public can get a better understanding? I know the commissioners have already seen these.
Yep, there, as stated, there are 5 waivers in total. Again, the property can only be developed through the long driveway, flag lot.
Could you
During-
use the microphone? You're not really getting picked up.
So during the zoning hearing, we were directed by the board to use the actual driveway that is depicted on those plans. It's a little over 50 feet wide. The current township ordinance actually has a restrictive to over-control stormwater in the post condition. So I can read through those requirements so everybody can understand. So the 2-year storm, everybody understands year storms of how water flows and everything else. So in your ordinance, you actually have a section there to over-control some of the storms 50% to what it was in the pre-condition. So what that means is, as water hit today, before anything's developed, we would have to reduce some of the storms to a less degree than what's leaving there today. So we're actually over-controlling the stormwater before it physically leaves the site more than it actually is today, per your ordinance. That your township engineer actually agreed with and approved our calculations. So, once you're putting in that long driveway, hence, you have to control that driveway. There's no other way to not control it. You would have to have a stormwater facility next to the driveway. Because if you didn't, you would be leaving more out than what was leaving in the precondition. So hence, with requiring us to design the driveway in that location, required a stormwater facility in that flow path there, in that 50-foot channel. So I'll go through the waiver requests. So the first one is section 310-51A, or A1, A, and D. This is requiring a 50-foot setback from property lines and dwellings for any kind of stormwater facility. Again, the right-of-way going back there for the driveway is only 50 feet wide. So it would be impossible to install a stormwater facility in there and meet those requirements, and still meet the intent of your ordinance. The next one, which I believe we spoke about briefly, I don't think this is a controversial one. So in your ordinance, it requires that, and this is section 310-51B, 4, and 6. This requires reinforced concrete outlet pipes with rubber gasket O-ring joints. This requirement is typically for large basins, centralized basins that are in large developments, not a 1.5 foot high rain garden. So we're proposing a 6-inch corrugated plastic pipe. Again, there's no vehicle traffic over this. So this is just, I think it's a pretty simplistic one that we wouldn't need concrete pipe for the outlet pipes leaving the rain garden. The next one is section 301-53C. And again, this goes back to the location of where we were directed to put the driveway to develop the lot by the board. All grading shall be set back from the property line at least 10 feet. Again, we have a 50-foot wide right-of-way with a certain distance for the driveway, and then an ability to get something next to the driveway. So we would be within that 10-foot isolation distance. But as part of our plan, this plan has been fully surveyed. Property lines will be marked. We'll ensure that no grading leaves the property. So there should be no concern about that one. Number 4, this is section 301-46. This is regard to stream bank erosion requirements to provide that the 1-year storm to take a minimum of 24 hours to drain. So this requirement is for much larger basins. Our flows out of our basins, just to give you an idea, the 100-year flow going out of there is 0.05 CFS. The 100-year leaving out of Rain Garden 2 is 0.125. We've restricted those flows so far back to leave out almost nothing that we can't leave out anything less than nothing. And then the last one is section 301-52F. This requires that the graded outlet shall be provided with concrete end treatments to be no closer than 10 feet from the cartway. So all the existing driveways along this road have an existing driveway pipe. This property actually has one existing today, we're replacing it. The ordinance is saying that that pipe would require a concrete end treatment, basically a concrete wall in that swale. No other property along that road has a concrete end treatment, nor would you want one, because people could, you know, get into the ditch and end up hitting it. So we just wanna match what's out there today. So that's a summary of why we need these waivers to meet the intent of the township's ordinance, and we're also reducing the post-development flow after it leaves.
Commissioner, questions?
I just have, I may have a question, I have a comment, and just make, I wanna make this very clear. I'm familiar with this property, I'm familiar with some of the residents around there. Their opposition to that is valid, and I don't think, I think there may have been a misunderstanding. There's water that comes off that property currently, but the neighbors around that have gone through extensive measures to correct that on their properties. So in other words, they put their own stormwater redirection around that. And while they may have some wet backyards, right now, and again, I guess I represent taxpayers. Right now, while they may have some wet backyards, it is not a disaster. Putting this in there, I don't, you know, I'm more familiar with this property than I wanna be. I looked at purchasing the property, I had my engineer up there, I had my builder, and I had, my realtor up there. And the highest and best use, that property has got some kind of zigzag property lines, it's almost impossible to build it there. And they said the highest and best use is for watching the squirrels run around, because trying to put a house up there with stormwater management is gonna be tough without waivers. And, you know, these 100-year storms, these 2-year storms, in the last 10 years, I built my house 10 years ago near that area. In the last 10 years, I think we had 3 100-year storms and, you know, 5 50-year storms and a number of 10-year storms. There's a lot of water coming off that, or potentially come off that property. I'm not an engineer, but the people around there are opposing this because they wanna protect their properties from any further runoff. And I don't see, how did this not fall under an MPDS permit? I mean, it is with, what's that?
I think it is.
No,
No?
we secured approval from Montgomery County Conservation District. The letter's in your packet.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the sewer, or not, the septic laterals, the driveway, the area disturbance around the house, how did that not come into, I mean, it says 0.98 acres. I mean, once you hit 1 acre, that's, I don't know.
Well, we were hoping that the township engineer, who again recommended approval of all 5 waivers, would be here tonight to address these issues. And it really wasn't just the township engineer, it was Mr. Frey as well, agreed that no use could be made of the property without the waivers.
Right.
This wouldn't have gotten past Mr. Reed, the Montgomery County Planning Commission, the zoning hearing board, and certainly not Mark from LTL, who of course is employed by the township to make these determinations and counsel the board, if it was determined that this would negatively impact neighboring property. So I understand, Mr. Mack certainly understands the concern, but I'm not quite sure what further reassurance we could give other than the township's own expert and the county conservation district.
Well, that's why we have, I mean, again,
I think I could say one thing to help your decision. So currently, right now, everything is sheet flowing across this 50-foot strip and going onto the neighboring property. We're cutting all that flow off. We have a swale uphill, and also our driveway is being connected. So in theory, or in calculations, that downhill neighbor is gonna see less flow than going onto them now. If everybody can picture this, right now today, it's sheet flowing. The water's coming across and it's sheet flowing across the property onto their property.
No obstruction across the
No
property,
obstruction.
stopping the water.
in the design you guys have in front of you, there is a swale on the uphill side of our driveway that conveys all of the neighboring property uphill around there to the roadway, to the existing swale. And then our driveway is being captured in that long facility and being slowly, again, the 0.05 CFS leaving and being discharged out front. So that neighbor downstream should be seeing a lot less than they're seeing currently coming down from the neighboring properties.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, I know you wanna get in.
Yeah, I do.
I'll finish, but the sheet flowing, and you're correct, but there's also, I went up there when they did their, double something test up there, double pipe test. And the engineer, or the guy doing it, you know, he was digging down and explaining to me, you have your soil, which is sheet flows, but underneath, not too far, is a whole layer of pebbles. And there's like a super highway of water under there. It is, guys, you know, when I looked at this property, they gave me the plans, and it says non-buildable lot. That's what it said, non-buildable lot. And I said, okay, well, you know, I was looking at, actually, this is part of the other 12 acres that's there, and I was gonna use this as a buffer. Yeah, I don't,
I think we just need a quick moment of correction, actually. This came up during the zoning hearing board about the whole non-buildable lot issue, which I know repeatedly came up in public meetings. Mr. Mack can address that very quickly, just to dispel any confusion about that.
So the original plan that was approved by the board didn't go through DEP planning for the planning module. That's why that note was on there that it's a non-buildable lot. Once the sewage planning and testing is done and gets approved through DEP, which was secured, it becomes a buildable lot then.
Sure.
All that note meant it was deferring the planning for sewage. Doesn't mean you can never build on it. It just meant that you have to go through the process, which we did, to make that a building lot.
as long as, but then the waivers too need to be implemented to make it buildable.
Which the engineer has unanimously
engineer did.
recommended approval.
The engineer's an advisory board to us. I mean, that's why there's these levels of
And the
painstaking
solicitor.
government here.
The one item that was brought up was directing us to go to the planning commission. This was hashed out earlier, there was several waivers that didn't apply to the saldo, remember curb and sidewalk? So
Yeah,
we are
that's fine.
strictly a stormwater plan, which typically doesn't go through the planning commission for approval. I know it's a new board for you, but I do this all over PA. So the only reason we're here is because of the waivers for the stormwater for those 5 items.
It's the other thing, that's not, all right,
Okay,
thanks, sorry Kathy.
that's okay. I have walked that whole area with the residents, not even during a storm or after a storm or anything. They have more than just a little bit of water runoff. I mean, shoes were sinking into the ground. I know a young couple bought a house that was filled with mold because of the water backing up. I know, Joey, who is here, I don't see her right now. She has to, every time there's a storm, or rain, it builds up in her yard and she has to get everything out of the yard. And they have more than just a little bit of water runoff. I would feel more comfortable if you actually did have a meeting with the residents. And I know Mr. Ganji has a ton of questions for you, because I've spoken with him a few times.
Mr. Ganji had a ton of questions at the zoning hearing board as well, and we
Okay.
did answer those. Not to his satisfaction, I'm sure, but if there was to be a meeting with the residents, has there already been some sort of informal meeting previously at the zoning hearing board level?
No, Jackie in my office went out to the site to look at site distance, and some of the residents came around, and she directed, or tried to explain what's going on with the process. As far as I know, that's the only interaction in the field with the residents that have happened. But some of the questions that I heard at the last meeting were, so we're only really directing water directly for the driveway onto the direct downstream. I believe some of the neighbors are uphill of us, which we really wouldn't be having an effect on
They're
them.
uphill,
So I'm not sure if are all the neighbors downhill of this property?
the ones that I spoke to, I believe they are, right? Yeah, they're downhill.
So they should be happy with this what we're proposing
They're
then.
not.
Because again, we're putting in a swale and the stormwater facility to actually direct all that water from uphill that went across around to the roadway now to the swale and
Okay.
restricting it back by 50%.
Okay, you know what, I'm just gonna be blatantly honest here, this is way above my pay grade, okay? When, I know what swales are, I know some of the things you speak of. I understand what these people, they don't wanna make their situation that's already bad worse. That's what they're worried about.
Ms. Peretti, could I recommend something? Because I understand this board is elected to safeguard the interests of the township residents. And you just hit on something that I think is very critical here. I am an attorney, I'm a land use attorney, I spend every day talking to engineers. I do not for 1 second pretend to be an engineer myself, just because I happen to be in very close proximity to Mr. Mack right now. This is above my pay grade as well, frankly. I think that if there is a meeting that the board would like us to have with township residents, that it would really behoove everyone if the township's own engineer was there as well. Because this does boil down to very technical engineering matters, and I think that Mr. Mack and Mark from LTL, I apologize, his last name does not roll off the tongue. Borthwick?
Yes.
Borthwick,
Yep.
I'm glad I got it right. To have both engineers there to answer questions, because you have the December 17th, 2024 letter from the person who you do pay, I assume not an inconsiderate amount of money, to advise you on these issues, recommending approval. I want him to have the full picture, which I'm sure that he does, and I think it would really be beneficial that if there's going to be a meeting, because I can already guess what some of the comments are going to be, because frankly, we've already heard them at several meetings, but I still understand there are concerns, to have the expert there to really address them, because I agree, this is above my pay grade as well. I think that the engineer who would be recommending approval of these, it would be beneficial for the residents to hear from him.
Kathy,
I
I have a suggestion, just one second.
This is a bit of an emergency because I had surgery today, and this is very pertinent to what you're discussing. I'm gonna put this here for you to look at, because your amount of water that you're talking about.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, what is your name and what is your address?
Listen,
Danny Malitsky, 1998.
Man, we're gonna have to hold off on
Yeah.
that, okay?
let me talk to my fellow commissioner, I think this is going to resolve it.
Okay,
Kathy,
Mhm.
how about you and I work on this motion? I'm gonna propose a motion, you can amend it. We will consider these waivers after they have a satisfactory meeting with the neighbors,
I agree,
okay?
I agree,
And,
I was gonna make that suggestion
and
myself.
then, he just said maybe the engineer will be there?
I think that that's absolutely critical, by the way,
Mhm.
because this is not about a use, this is about expert comments on the stormwater management
Now, the
ordinance.
venue for that may be our planning commission, I don't know, I'll throw out the rest of it, I'm just saying, I will consider these, there's one that's okay in here, but I will consider these after these residents are satisfied, and while it's all above all of our pay grade, you get it to your pay grade pretty quick when it's in your backyard, and I know a couple of these people out here, they know quite a bit about it, so let's arrange that meeting, I don't know how to do it, but I'm just the idea.
last time we talked about that particular meeting, did something fall through, Eric? You know?
No, we did not. We had a staff meeting here, with the engineer to bring us up to speed,
I don't think your mic's working.
but it was not with me, it was just staff and the engineer.
Okay, so I think that we do need to do that. And can we look at the calendars right now so it gets scheduled?
You wanna go to your first meeting that's already advertised?
Not our meeting, that's.
Could I have a request?
Or
I
May.
have to keep you guys have a workshop, could we get on the workshop for the
That's
next?
exactly what she just
That's what I
suggested.
just
Yeah, I-
And again, strongly recommend that the engineer be
Yeah, and
there.
that won't be a commissioner's meeting, that will be for the public to come and ask us questions, get the brief like you just described, okay?
Yep.
Now, we gotta make sure our engineer and solicitor can be there. What's the date, Michelle?
March next year.
Well, I mean, so if you wanna do it, if you wanna do it at your regularly scheduled meeting, first meeting in May, it's May 5th.
Use the date, or we won't meet.
What's that?
Use that date. Yeah, but can you go to those? It won't be a commissioner meeting, it'll be just a meeting. for
Well,
that.
I'm just thinking you won't have to advertise another meeting,
Oh, I
because
see.
that meeting's
Oh.
already advertised.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And you can
Yeah,
just
makes
have
sense.
that item on the agenda for discussion.
But what I'm saying, it won't be a commissioner meeting, so we can schedule when we need to, it's gonna be an informational question and answer, it's not a
Right.
commissioner meeting. What do you
I
think?
mean, just do the, I can't make that,
Either can be.
Perfect.
but it doesn't matter, all the commissioners don't have to be there.
You're correct.
I'm more concerned with the residents.
That's
that they
fine,
get their
that's what
questions
we're not
Okay.
just gonna leave it to
Okay.
a commissioner meeting, so it's when everybody can get together. But we'll need your time and LTL's time,
I'm
Okay.
good for May fifth if we have it that night.
but can you do that?
Yeah.
You do May fifth?
Yeah, normally not.
Okay, so it won't be a commissioner
May
meeting,
fifth meeting is moved to.
it'll
May
just be the
12th.
informational for the Yarnell issue. Okay, residents, who are the residents that are concerned?
May fifth a holiday?
No,
One,
I'm
two,
sending
three,
it
four.
mine.
How's that look for you guys?
That's fine, but I just have one question.
And I have comments to make.
We all come
Wait
here
a
and
minute.
discuss
The
it.
date,
The date's fine.
okay, we'll keep with the date.
So look, we all come here and discuss it, right?
Yep.
What's that have to do with my property? Why don't you come to
Okay,
my house and have
May
a-
fifth is when we're gonna go with. Commissioners, if you can,
Oh, what time would that be, Mr. Slickard, again?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock? Maybe.
Earlier, yeah. You could do it earlier if you're not
Yeah,
gonna have
midnight.
all the commissioners here,
It'll be
it's not
after
gonna be a
midnight.
board meeting,
Yeah.
you can do it earlier.
And you, was it 6 o'clock or better? Okay,
That's what
6
I'm
o'clock.
Yeah, okay.
Very good. May 5th, 6 o'clock.
Mr. Slickard, this might be a good time to ask, and I don't mean this facetiously, because many municipalities do have an outer time limit. Is there a time at which a board commissions in this township have a mandatory stop date on a meeting, as in a time of night?
We go until we're done.
I'll bring coffee, Mr. Slickard.
Oh, yeah, this is not, again, this is not a commissioner meeting. If you wanna schedule it from 6 to, and cut off whenever you probably wanna listen to most folks, but you can feel better. Usually meetings are at least productive when they get out past the hour and a half mark. So I would recommend at the most 2 hours. But if,
I don't think it'll take more than that.
yeah, I don't.
As I say, it's only 5 waivers, we
Yeah,
can't
we
resolve
don't.
it in 2 hours, there's something wrong.
We're gonna hear everything in 2
Yeah,
hours. So
yeah.
whether we agree or not, which we
Right.
probably won't,
Yeah.
but
So
we'll
you'll,
just get,
yeah, Michelle, between you,
Yep.
Michelle,
Okay,
Michelle,
so I know that I have, go ahead.
you'll take care of talking to the LTL?
Yeah, I know that I have some of your emails, but I'm gonna put a sheet over there on the table. If you can just list your name, address, and email, so that I can actually, when I put it on the calendar, I can actually send you an invite, to that meeting.
And is there some kind of contingency to make sure that, Mr. Borthwick will be able to attend? I certainly understand wanting to hear everybody's concerns, but the idea is to actually get answers other than from Mr. Mack, which he's happy to answer
Yeah,
tonight.
that'll be a prerequisite. You guys, our solicitor, LTL.
Just confirming, thank you so much.
I'm
All right.
texting him right now.
All right, so commissioners, what we'll do is go forward that meeting, we'll table it for this action right here, and move on to the next. Right?
Well, we'd like to thank the board for its time, and although I'm sure there's some people who doubt this, we genuinely do want to make sure that we are protecting the township and the interests of our neighbors. Thank you so much.
Appreciate the data as well.